Smart money concepts are bullshit. And I want to take the time in this video to explain exactly why, using logic, using scientific evidence, and using reasoning. Now, I don't want this to come off across as a straight up attack. I used to use a lot of elements from smart money concepts, and we're going to come full circle, and I'm going to explain to you what this means in terms of a practical approach. But let's just go through things step by step. So, the first pillar that smart money concepts phrase or talk about, the first element is market manipulation. So it's argued that markets are manipulated by large institutions with the power to move prices, right? And they will use this power to mislead the retail traders. You and me will be misled, and what stop losses will get eaten up. So let's break this first idea down. It's true. Large institutions do have big market power. Let's just reduce the down a little bit. Okay. Um, however, using it to trap retail traders has, number one, no scientific evidence to back it up, right? It's 100% made up of people online and personal experiences being like, oh, I've had this experience where, all my stops keep getting eaten up. That the only conclusion is it must be being taken by some magical force, or other people being like, oh, I've heard so-and-so talk about this or whatever. Next one is that the markets aren't that simple. Like, they are super complicated, and they're influenced by complex relationships, economic data, geopolitical risk, sentiment. Like, really, the list is endless, right? Now, to think that it's just as simple as, oh, institutions have more money than us and they're targeting us little retail traders because, they can, and that, like, it just makes zero sense, and it's backed up by nothing. Next one. There isn't just one type of institution. I think that a lot of beginners make this mistake. They hear institutional trading or institutions, and they think, oh, these are the big boys, they're all working against the little guy. But in reality, they all have conflicting ideas, conflicting methods and intentions, and they all operate in completely different ways. So the idea that it's just they're all coordinating to screw you over is literally stupid. Now, I know that a lot of smart money people are like, oh, well, it's on a higher level than the institutions. That also doesn't make sense, which we'll get onto in a minute. Anyway, the final point is, why would they bother manipulating retail traders? Because depending on the market, retail traders make up like only 5 to maybe 20% as a max of all the money in the market. So in the FX markets, it's going to be on the lower end of that. So probably around 5%. And so why would they bother going after you specifically? Because it's not, you've got to think, it's not just, oh, they're going after you specifically. They're also having to adapt that to their own approach and also deal with the other competitive elements of the market, like competing with other institutions and stuff like this. Do you really think it's as simple as them going, oh, looks like there's a load of liquidity there, I'm going to take that up? Like, makes no sense. Like, it's actually quite stupid. Anyway, next one. Institutions target liquidity pools. So as I just mentioned, it's the idea that there are these areas in price where market orders are concentrated, and they get specifically targeted by institutions with the sole purpose of getting your money or getting your stop loss. This shows just the most overwhelmingly simple view of the market. It's actually a little bit embarrassing. Now again, this video is not to piss off people who currently believe in smart money. I was a smart money advocate for a long time. I'm trying to show this to you so that you can make your own decision about what you think's fair. I've just now, after a certain amount of time trading, based my beliefs on logic and reasoning and science rather than, fancy magical stuff. But anyway, let's go into this specific issue and talk about what it means. So the markets are highly specialized and fragmented, with orders that spread out in endless amounts of ways. So it's not just institutions placing a buy and then having a stop loss. Like, it's so much more intricate than that. And there are so many people with loads of different methods as well, different time periods, from high frequency trading to, really long term. Like, these things are all interrelating at all times. And the idea that there are going to be these obvious areas makes no sense, right? Because just because it's obvious, in quotations, which I'll mark out here, just because it's obvious, right, It's only obvious to you because it aligns with your current understanding of the market. Like if you'd had a different education about trading from the beginning, then different areas are going to look obvious to you based on what you already understand. So this immediately means that it is subjective, which isn't necessarily a negative, but it is in the context of smart money trading. And the reason it's a negative is because what's deemed as, oh, price got taken out there because they were seeking my liquidity. You have no way of seeing this unless you are looking at it in hindsight. You can make guesses, but then how is that any better than flipping a coin? You just do not know. You just don't know. This is the big thing, right? Anyway, next one is this completely ignores how real order flow. I want to highlight this. Real order flow works, right? One example of this is how high frequency trading influences price movement. So, smart money guys talk about order flow a lot. Oh, order flow, order flow. What the fuck does that mean? Like the way they're using it is literally bullshit. This is what real order flow looks like. We have along the right-hand side, we have the DOM. This is a very complex version of it. Let's do this one, which is basically the book of passive orders, meaning but essentially limit orders that haven't been activated in the market yet, right? And this is it mapped out on price. Now, this doesn't actually take into account active orders in the market, which are market orders, but you can use other tools for that, like footprint software and stuff like this. In fact, I'll show you what that looks like. Footprint chart. We actually used to sell a footprint chart here at Psych, but we stopped selling it. But essentially, it's something like this, where within each candle, you actually have the record of buyers and sellers within it. Order flow has nothing to do with smart money, in the way that smart money concepts describes it. It's a lot more intricate than that, and it's a lot more detailed. The idea that it's just like, oh, there's a double bottom here, therefore there's going to be liquidity around there, is literally so dumb. It's so dumb. And if you actually look at one of these charts in real time, when they move, you'll see, and just for the record, these red areas are where that there's a lot of resting limit orders currently. And you can see over time, it changes. So it was really red up until this point, and then as price gets closer, it starts withdrawing orders. Why does that happen? Well, because a lot of algorithms in price will put on huge, huge, huge orders that they have no intention of actually executing on in order to draw price up towards it. And then they will remove all of those orders very, very quickly. And it's all done algorithmically, which means that as price gets closer, you can see a lot of those orders are removed, and then prices go back down again for several other reasons as well. And so the markets are complex. They're related to lots of relating factors. The idea that it is just some magician or some group of like elites at the top is really, really dumb. Anyway, let's go to the next one, which is there is an algorithm that is driving price. How lovely does that sound? Oh, there's an algorithm that's driving the markets. It's a very nice and convenient phrase, but in reality, this is the most stupid phrase out of all of smart money. Why? Because it's a straight up lie. Like it's literally just a lie. Like it's based on nothing. And not just that, the market is known to be and has been proven to be an auction. This is not like an idea. I'm not giving you my opinion. It's a fact. You can see it here. It's an auction, right? It's an auction for each price point. New prices are determined by prices getting either pulled up or pulled down, but it's not actually a pull or it's a bit more complicated than that. But as a rough idea, it's an auction, right? However, this is really important to understand because understanding this in particular, right? The idea that there is an algorithm helps us to understand how people are manipulated by this, because understanding this is going to be critical so that you don't keep getting manipulated by either this line of thinking or a different one. So let's go and break that down a little bit as well. Don't know why it's all the way up here. So I call this the uncertainty scam, right? The markets are uncertain. We've all experienced it in some way or another, right? It's uncomfortable. You never know for sure why a particular move happened the way it did. We can only estimate. Now, when hindsight, we have the benefit of that, we can come up with various reasons. Even then, we still don't know 100% for sure because we can't see all of the different participants in the markets and all their motives and all this sort of stuff. That's uncomfortable because as humans, we want to feel certain, we want to feel secure. And especially when it comes to something that is based on money and potentially money that can be ours or not be ours, then we're going to be extra vigilant about what we pay attention to and what we believe. And that uncertainty is incredibly uncomfortable. It is a human I'm not going to say a weakness, but in terms of trading, it's a bit of a weakness. Anyway, therefore, when someone comes along with a story about why the markets move the way they do, our brains attach to the ideas that that story is based off of, and they start believing them. Why? Because it makes us feel secure and certain, even though we are still operating in a completely uncertain environment. This is something that is well known by marketers, which is there is a, let's just say, a person who's feeling really uncertain, which will represent with a U, and maybe they're feeling really, yeah, let's just stick with uncertain, nice and simple. If someone comes along and tells them a story about why something is the way that it is, that's going to fill the gap. It's going to fill that human desire to feel certainty, which is going to give them faith. Now, whatever that story is based off, whatever the idea is, in this case, let's just say it's SMC, right? Smart money concepts. If this is what you're wrapping the story up in, oh, you feel uncertain about the markets, you feel like you're getting stopped out a lot. Like, well, actually, there's a reason for that. The reason is that they're trying to target these magic levels. Do you find when you get involved that you're often getting stopped out and it goes in the right direction? Yeah, everybody's experienced that. That is a normal element as whenever you add a stop loss to a system. If you've ever tried algorithmic trading or even just manual trading, as soon as you add a stop loss, you are literally putting it there. And that means that you are going to be taken out at some point a certain percentage of the time. That's a fact. And yet it's twisted because people have an emotional reaction to it. And deep down, they have a desire to not lose. That they look at this and go, oh, wow, like maybe if I just understood what this story is telling me, I'd be able to avoid this. And it's really all comes down to that. Humans are wired to avoid pain. And when someone comes along painting a story of why you're in pain and suggest that you're going to be able to fix that in the future, that's extremely attractive and it gets you to believe it. And this is why I call it the uncertainty scam, because people will manipulate the fact that you are uncertain by telling you a story that sounds certain and gives you a reason that isn't true. And then it will manipulate you into getting you to believe what helps them. And this is really all smart money is. And by the way, it's not just smart money. Most systems out there will try and convince you that their system is the quote unquote best. And most of the time, that is really, really dumb. So, anyway, let's, instead of just continuing to shit on everyone, let's go into the next point. Next one, common patterns, indicators, and price action is intentionally used to manipulate you. What the hell does this mean? Well, you'll see this thrown around a lot. Oh, indicators lag too much. Oh, they're leading the masses into the wrong trading decisions. Oh, patterns aren't good. Oh no, don't do head and shoulders. Like everybody knows that pattern. It's going to be priced in or it's going to be manipulated or who cares, right? Let's break this one down. So, similar to the first point that I made about the markets manipulating you, this is done for many reasons. Number one, smart money, right, teaches you a pattern based strategy, which is just a fancy way of saying technical analysis. Now, people do not see this at first or sometimes ever because it's more complicated of a technical system. Now, I'm sure that there are some fundamentals or whatever in there as well that some people can choose to use, but for the most part, it's a technical system, right? People don't see this because it's a more complicated system. They spend so long trying to learn it in the hope based on, being manipulated by the uncertainty scam. They spend so long learning it and trying to learn the intricacies of it. They kind of lose sight of what it really is fundamentally, right? It distracts you from the fact that you're still drawing lines and zones on chart, thinking that you're some sort of wizard, right? This is just the biggest mistake. It doesn't matter if you're drawing an order block that's really, really thin and refined, or whether you're drawing a really wide support and resistance zone, or whether you're drawing your market structure highs absolutely perfectly instead of, using every two high or whatever, right? Doesn't matter because at the end of the day, it's all just technical analysis. It's all it is. Now, what's the problem with that? Well, let's look at the trap. So, does this mean that smart money concepts or nothing in smart money concepts can ever work? No, some stuff absolutely can work in the right context. But the big but here, and this is a big, big, big but, anything, anything can work in the right context. Anything. Like it literally, and I mean anything, right? Trend lines, patterns, order blocks, backflips, support and resistance, anything, right? Why? Because whether you trade head and shoulders or order blocks or silver bullets or whatever the shit everybody's calling everything nowadays, you're just using different kinds of technical analysis and bullshitting yourself into thinking that it's better than another technical system. This is so unbelievably backwards. It's ridiculous. It's all just a manifestation of people's obsession with technical analysis. That's it. But it's packaged up and put in a neat little bow. And just as another example here, imagine that you are a course seller. Now, I sell a course, but I do it based on the experience and knowledge that I've brought up. And I'm very confident in the education that I provide because I've gone through a lot of experiences. I've learned all of these things. I've gone through a lot of struggle in order to get to the point that I'm at now. But let's imagine we have, I don't know, however many this is, educators out there. Imagine each one of these bubbles represents like 100, right? So maybe you've got about 1,000 here. How is one of these people, one of these groups of people, going to stand out from all of these people? How are they going to rise ahead and get most of the business, right? What are they going to do? They're going to tell you a story that makes them stand out, that makes them different. And so when someone comes along purporting that smart money, this new idea of smart money is really what's the reason why nothing else is working, and they paint the rest of these people as not the villains, but people who are misled, then more people are going to flock to this person because it's new, it's exciting, it makes sense because no one else has been telling them a story that supports their experiences. And so more people flock to them. And what develops over time is you develop cult like behavior. This is basic herd psychology, along with a lot of other psychological biases and logical fallacies and things like this. Right? It's a very common and well understood term, but mostly in areas outside of trading. Right? Now, what's the solution? So, what is important? Well, unlike what everybody will tell you, environment is actually the key because technical analysis is not special like you're taught, right? It's not going to provide you the big edge you're looking for. Great technicals, and by great in quotation marks, like think about the most complex technical system that you've seen, that you've looked at and been like, wow, if only I could trade like that, then I'd be really successful, right? But those great technicals in a bad environment will lose. And vice versa, quote unquote, bad technicals, smart money might look at something like support and resistance or head and shoulders and be like, oh, those are bad technicals, right? In those in a good environment can win. So the conclusion is that technicals aren't everything, environment is everything. But how do we actually put that into practice? Like, what does it actually mean? Well, there are two main systems out there for the average retail trader. You're either a trend follower or you are trading a mean reversion system, or you're doing a bit of both. Each of these work in opposite environments. Trend following works in an environment where, you guessed it, a trend is more likely to happen. Or not necessarily more likely, but it's more of a trending environment. A mean reversion system works well in range bound environments or choppy environments. And so being able to identify ahead of time which of those environments we're going to be in is the key skill, right? This is the key skill. So this is one of the reasons why, just as an example, this is, again, I'm not trying to do what smart money is doing here. Like with the system that we currently teach, which is mean reversion, we may add a trend following one in there soon, but with mean reversion, that works in an environment that is more choppy. And so the actual technical system itself is just two rules, and they're so simple, like a kid could do them. And the reason is because what makes the difference between whether someone is going to do well with those rules or not has nothing to do with the technicals. Like the other week, we had like 20 signals in a week from the system, which is a crazy amount, right? But the best traders only took like 2 of those signals. And that comes down to picking the right environment. We understood that, look, we want to get over all of the technical hurdles as fast as possible, ideally in 5 minutes or less. And then we can focus on the important things. How do we identify the environment? How do we identify it's a good environment, a bad environment, right? And that's really key. And that comes down to looking at things other than technical analysis. I know, I hate to burst your bubble, but that's just the reality. Okay. Now, the key skill, therefore, is not technical analysis slash smart money slash pseudoscience slash astrology slash bullshit, right? Technicals are fine, but mostly they are used as a way to manage risk in a consistent way, not to provide the massive edge that allows you to finally conquer the market, right? So, guys, I really hope that you found this helpful. I'm sure I've missed out some details of what smart money stands for. People are going to have a go at me in the comments or whatever. I really don't give a shit. At the end of the day, believe what you want to believe. This is a breakdown using logic and using rationality rather than emotions and misguided ideas, which is often what smart money is based off of, in my opinion. But yeah, so take it or leave it. Hope you found this helpful. If you have, I'd appreciate you leaving a like. If you'd like help one-on-one from me, feel free to check that out in the description box below. If you'd like a course, then you can check that out as well. If not, then feel free to check out all my other free videos or anyone else's free videos. I'm not here to convince you that I'm any better than the next person, because I've got no interest in trying to manipulate you to my goals. I really don't care. I do this channel because I enjoy this channel. I've got no intentions to turn it into a massive business enterprise, because I don't make most of my money from doing this. So yeah, hope you have an amazing rest of your day, guys. Be interested what your thoughts are below. Take care, and I'll see you soon.